All right, Bri, we are back after opening night, ring ceremony night. The Warriors eventually had their way with the Lakers, winning 123-109 in a game that when the third quarter was happening, I thought we were just going to forego the fourth quarter and start the podcast. But the Lakers played a little defense and made it a little bit closer. What was the highest that the Warriors were up by? Like they were up by like almost 25, I was going to say.
It's probably something around that. I don't think they got to the 30 mark, but yeah, it was that little fourth quarter spurt they had. It was like a 23-9 run at some point, I think.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk about the game, go over the game a little bit, then we'll talk about some Warriors predictions and then some NBA predictions as well. But the first thing is let's talk about this ring ceremony. Saw this photo. LeBron not too happy. LeBron, because of the way the NBA does the schedule and because of how many finals LeBron has played in, like he's had to watch a lot of ring nights over his career. This poor guy. And this year, Warriors played against the Lakers, so he had to watch the Warriors get their rings. And I thought it was kind of cute the way that they did it. They had a representative of all of the championships that the Warriors have had, going all the way back to there was two even before the 75 teams. Al Attles was there for the 75 team, and then you had people who are working with the team like Livingston, Zaza.
Livingston wasn't there, was he?
Yeah, he was representing the 2018 championship, I believe. I guess they couldn't get KD to come back.
Yeah, I forgot. Livingston does work for the team. I think I was thinking of the Brazilian. God, why am I forgetting his name?
The Brazilian Blur. We're going to be championship.
Yeah.
Barbosa.
Yeah, because he went to the Kings while we were sitting courtside at California Classic.
But it was awesome to see from the 2015 team, Mo Spates. That was awesome. We have young Randall. He's a Bulls fan, but he's representing. He's just hanging out with us here. He was mentioning the LeBron photo there. He said salty LeBron, but yeah, that was kind of cool to see Mo Spates again. Like I didn't know exactly what they were going to do. I had heard that there was going to be some players in the building. Quindary Witherspoon got his ring in street clothes in his fiery whatever that shirt was that he was wearing. But it was good to see Mo. It was good to see S. Dot. It was good to see Zaza, and then of course, all the players. What did you think about the whole how they did the rings and then how they dropped the banner? Like it was pretty similar to how they've done it in the past, but it felt a little bit more for the crowd because it was San Francisco's first time,
and it was like their fourth time. So
right.
Not like they want to get it over with, but it's kind of like been there, done that.
Yeah, for sure. And Clay messed up. Of course, he's gonna mess up. I think he was supposed to throw to a video, and then Steph was gonna come in, but then he threw to Steph, and Steph was like, "Nah, man, we got more to go." But yeah, it was fun. I like seeing that stuff. I remember the first time they did the ring ceremony, so the 2016 season, like that felt like really crazy because it had been 40 years, I think 40 years exactly. But then they've had now 3 more since then. So really cool. It was really cool to see. And that, that if you think about it now here's something to think about. The Lakers and the Celtics have the most titles. I think then it's the Bulls and then it's the Warriors. It's something like that. How many of those championships do the Lakers get to count being in Minneapolis?
Well, how many do we get to count?
2.
How many of them were in Philly?
I think there's 2 pre-California.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going by that, then yeah, the Lakers can't count a lot of them either.
Well,
Boston just gets to run away with all of them.
Yeah, Boston gets all of them. But the NBA does do it. Like when they count the championships, it's just based on the franchise. It's not based on where you were. But it's funny because Bill Simmons is the one who made this comment. Hulu did a series on the Los Angeles Lakers. And Bill's like, "Oh yeah, I imagine we're gonna see tons of footage from the Minnesota years." And he's like, "Of course not, because nobody cares about the Minnesota years. Only Lakers fans count the Minnesota years." So I found that to be funny. But the Warriors are up there. The Warriors are like, I don't know, fourth or fifth or something like that in NBA championship. So that is something to be accounted for. And then this game started, and I would say the first half of this game, I was thinking it was preseason again.
Yeah, it
There
was a
was
snooze fest.
lots of sloppy plays, bad shooting, and that's going to happen for the Lakers, right? They don't really have any outside shooters. Kendrick Nunn, his stroke actually looked really good, but
Mhm.
nobody else did. I thought everyone else was just off, and it didn't look like some of these shots were even coming close. Like Pat Beverly, he was trying to get in rhythm and just way off. Russ shot an air ball when they dared
Mhm.
him to shoot a three. But ultimately, I thought the first half was really bad. And if you watched Philadelphia Boston, that game was actually pretty good. And
Yeah,
the
I thought so
teams were
too.
playing really good. Boston looks fast and athletic, and the Warriors looked like it was, kind of the game before the season started. It was similar to like the Denver and what was the game? I guess it was Lakers. They played in preseason as well. It's kind of reminiscent of those games, and because they played all of their young players, I think they played 12 players if you count Rollins. Patrick Baldwin did not play, but it's like 12 players played in this game, and 11 of them.
Played meaningful minutes.
Yeah, 11 of the players had technically 10 players had double-digit minutes. For some reason, Moses Moody did not get a lot of playing time. He was like the 11th man on the team tonight. He only played 7 minutes, and then Ryan Rollins got 2 minutes at the end. But yeah, the first half was really bad, and then the Warriors came out firing in the third quarter. And where's the box here that shows us what the quarters were? I don't actually have it, but I'll find it. But they just came out blasting, and I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was, they just caught rhythm or whatever. But that was a really fun third quarter, and then like we said in the fourth quarter, the teams kind of both playing sloppy, both hitting big shots and everything. But let's talk about some of the key points here. So Steve Kerr plays everybody. What did you think about uh his attempt, I guess you would say, to show the players like you're going to get run in these games and we need to get you guys up to speed very quickly?
I don't like it. I think that there's I think that there's stability in having a set rotation and guys
Uh-huh.
know when they're coming in and going out, and they know they can catch rhythm more if they're playing in a spurt or an
Mhm.
extended amount of time rather than just like little spurts here and there. So I mean, it's going to take some getting used to, but I think it's definitely rocky right now. I wouldn't say I like it just yet.
Okay, so do you not like it because you want to see that starting five, or let's say the top seven play more? Uh, or like, could you intermingle those guys with the younger players? Because what happened is when they started doing the rotations, it was Steph and all the young guys. It was Steph, Jordan Poole, um, Kaminga, and I guess
Wiseman.
Wiseman, and I guess Jermichael Green was in there. So he's another vet, but he's not really an offensive force, though he did have some pretty good offensive numbers here. Because they could, intersperse them a little bit better, but they didn't. Kerr, like, he let these guys kind of play it out. Now, if it's Denver, and we know Denver's going to be a much better team than Lakers, we may see a more normal rotation. But yeah, it was the Lakers, so I think they figured that, hey, we're gonna just let these guys play a little bit, and this is going to be a little bit of a different rotation here. Mark Nobita says the Lakers were leaning on Beverly to hit threes. Yeah, I don't get that at all.
I mean,
I know you like Pat,
I do.
but I don't like him on that team.
Yeah, well, because he's like the number 5 option, and Pat Bev should be like a number 8 or a number 9 option. So, but I mean, Pat probably hit. I think I want to say that his number was like 35 to 36% of his threes last year. But I mean, there's something between stats and eye test where you could tell that form isn't like the best if it's getting contested. So yeah,
And we had this up earlier in the season, and it sort of played out the way that I thought. Now, Pat Beverly is going to help them in ways that the shooting, won't necessarily help. The referees called him a little more closely than they may call him later in the season. He was very aggressive. He got 2 fouls early on. Then he picked up the third and he had to leave. And then right at the beginning of the fourth quarter, I think on the first possession, he gets the fourth foul. And so he's got to come off the court. He did play in the fourth, but yeah, it's not a great mix when it comes to their lineup. But back to Kerr, I think he I think he was trying to do his Popovich, and he was trying to look like a teacher out there. He was just surveying the young players. He wasn't getting mad. The only time he really got mad was when I think they hit a three and then they gave up a three like immediately. And he was just like, you can't do that. So I don't think he's too competitive, I think, to be Pop. So I don't think this is going to be the entire season. I can't imagine it's going to be the entire season because I don't know if he has the patience to just let Jordan Poole go 2 for 9 from 3-point land and keep shooting him deeper and deeper and deeper and just
yeah.
missing and missing. At some point, he has to teach like, okay, we need to make an adjustment here. But yeah, he was like free. He was like letting these guys play so freely.
It was
And
it was ring night, and it was versus the Lakers. You hit it just a little bit earlier. Like I don't
yeah,
think they take this team seriously, and they could have just kept messing around and probably still won the game. But that fourth quarter happened, so I guess they started taking it a little more seriously.
yeah. So let's talk about the third and the fourth quarter. Steph Curry, he ended up 10 of 22 and 4 of 13 from 3-point land. I think in the first half he was 0 of 5. So second half he is 4 of 9 and 9 of 9 from the free throw line. 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, but he also had 4 turnovers. 33 points. How did you think he played overall?
I thought that was the quietest 33 ever. Like he was just, I mean, just. I feel like it's going to be hard to really evaluate this game because I don't really think there's much to take away from it because I don't think the Lakers are a real test on what we might think of this team going forward. I think that might be more on Friday against the Nuggets.
Yeah.
But like, I think Steph was just letting everyone cook, everyone do their thing. Like Poole was taking a lot of wild shots, Clay was taking a lot of wild shots in the beginning. Then the young guys come in and they're going to want to get theirs. So Steph was just kind of do the right thing guy. Like I'll just cut off ball and you'll find me and I'll shoot free throws. And then by the time it was the fourth quarter, I was like, all right, I'm just going to like kind of do my thing now. And I thought that was such a quiet 33 by him. I didn't expect that number. So yeah.
Lots of backdoor.
Yeah. Lots of backdoor.
Lots of cutting. Lots of kind of weaving in and around Davis to get to his side where you could kind of run a little bit of like a blocker to get in front of Davis, and then Steph kind of goes off to his side. A lot of that. Sheed from Warriors World made a tweet that I had actually sent a note to you and Ben. Sheed was like, you got to get the white guys off Steph and Jordan Poole. Like he was like, I'm not trying to demean them, but like they can't guard these guys. And I thought exactly the same thing. And what it reminded me of is when I was working for KMBR, Tom Tolbert, who still works at KMBR, but he does the color commentary on the radio broadcast with Tim Roy. He played for the Warriors in the late 80s, early 90s. And he said that they were playing the Celtics one night and Don Nelson had him guard Larry Bird. And Larry Bird turned to Don Nelson and said, you have to have a black guy guard me. Tolbert cannot guard me. And sort of that's kind of what it reminded me of when Steph's just backdooring on, was it Austin Reeves? And then who's the other guy? Ryan?
Who the hell is Matt Ryan?
Who is that guy?
In the NBA? I've never heard of him.
He made 1 3. His stroke looks okay, but I was like, how are you in the top 8 or 9 rotation on this
They need
team?
shooting, but I feel like Quindary would be good for them.
So JTA, unfortunately, they are looking for JTA to bail them out, but we know JTA's an average at best 3-point shooter. He was 0 of 3 from the field. All 3 of those were 3-pointers. He's busy. He pulled 4 boards. He's moving. He's passing. But if you expect JTA to just do four out, and he's one of the 4 guys out, I just don't see how that is beneficial to JTA's game at all. Like JTA needs to get up and down, and he needs to be able to use his athleticism, and he needs to be able to get out on the break and have creative players around him. Like having him just sit out there and try to shoot threes is just a bad idea.
Yeah. And it's not going to look good going forward either. He doesn't
And that
really fit on the team.
But I was glad to see him get the ring. That was cool. We got to see JTA get the ring, and then his mom was sitting courtside. That was really cool.
Mhm.
Happy for him. But yeah, I don't think he's gonna be. I think there's gonna be a little bit of envy from these guys. Like they had to go get their money, right? Like JTA had to get his money. Gary Payton had to get his money, but Gary Payton, I have a feeling he's gonna be a little frustrated on that Blazers team this year. But we'll see. That they could play a little bit out of what we think they can play. But what did you think about Wiggins' game? Because you talk about quiet.
Yeah, yeah.
Andrew Wiggins had a quiet 20 and a quiet 4 of 7 from 3, including 2 step backs, one of them right in LeBron's face. Like Wiggins, I thought was kind of. I would have to sort of look back, but I feel like he was either he or Looney were like the 2 best players on the court, not named Steph Curry tonight.
I agree. Just picking up where he left off from the finals, and it shows why we paid him. I don't really have like the best answer for that. He just looked good, right? He just did everything right on defense, and then on offense, he would just hit. He would do his little fadeaway twos that sometimes would go, sometimes wouldn't. Try to be there for the offensive board too, and then his threes. Like if this is a Wiggins like we can get, because the story with Wiggins has always been he'll be really good for a while and then he'll just like kind of cool off. But if we can like maybe not 20, but like 15 and to 17, like consistently, like sign me up.
And he's the shot that you mentioned where he's so confident pulling up from 17, 18, or he'll get in the key a little bit and he'll shoot that little turnaround or that little fadeaway. He's really comfortable in that
Yeah.
area. And he looked good with the stroke from 3-point land this year or tonight. But he was sort of in and out with his stroke last year. But yeah, I like the confidence. He looked like it was almost like last year was the first year that he played with all of those guys. And so he had the 1 year they go out and win the title, and it's almost like, okay, last year I knew how to play with these guys, but now I have the mastery of playing with these guys. That's what it looked like. It looked like he figured out like, oh, now I have a mastery, and it's just going to enable everything. So Clay only played 19 minutes, and we heard that from the announce team. By the way, Reggie Miller, it's DiVincenzo. I don't know what he was saying, but
You're the last person that should be giving advice on like last name spelling or pronunciation.
No. Okay, I'm not a professional professional color commentary guy. DiVincenzo. What was he saying? He was like saying Diva Shen. I was like, come on, Reg. It's not that hard. Just call him the Big Ragu. That's what we do. We call him the Big Ragu.
Easy.
So what did you think about Clay? 19 minutes. He was chucking, man. He
was chucking.
He looked like Clay. 18 points. He had 2 of 6 from 3. Draymond was kind of quiet. I don't know. He was a little bit subdued. I don't know if it's because he had to guard Davis, and Davis is just such a big dude. But he was not. I didn't even see him get angry one time. I didn't see him argue with the ref one time.
I think when he was exiled in quotation marks from the team, and they did that one. Well, they showed the documentary kind of thing today, but they had a clip where he was like working out in his personal facility while he was exiled from the team. I think that was just for camera. I don't think he kept working out after the camera went off. I think I think he's been shout out to Jalen Rose, but he's been champagning campaigning all summer. I think Draymond's probably out of shape. Probably Clay. I mean, Clay. We've heard stories all summer how he hasn't been scrimmaging. You know, it's
Yeah.
like a PTSD thing for him. So I think it's just going to be a little ramp up. That's why he had a minute restriction of like 18. So I guess he went over it. But I'm not looking too deep into like how Clay, how Dre played. Even I wouldn't even look at how any of the starting five played. They just need, they just won a championship. They're just going to slow their way into the season. There's no urgency from them, which
All
I
right.
think is fine.
What about DiVincenzo?
I wasn't impressed.
No?
I feel like I feel like I'm starting to learn the kind of player he is. I think I said on this podcast when we got him, I was like, oh, cool, another shooter who might, play some decent on-ball defense. And then he just turns into like, oh, wow, he's just like a point guard, essentially. He's just a playmaker. And my guy, NBA University on Twitter, you know how he posts those graphs where it's like X axis, Y axis, and then, you want to be on like the top right because that means like you're good at one thing and you're good at the other thing. DiVincenzo always finds his way on like the bottom of all of those. Like his advanced statistics like aren't in favor of him. And there is some eye test with that as well. Maybe you could point to a lot of things there, but I'm keeping an eye on him based on I kind of think that I understand that when Steph comes off the floor and you have Poole with the second unit, you don't really want Poole as the point guard. You don't want him to set everyone up. You want him to create his own shot. And if he's doing that, he can't really set anyone up. So I understand why DiVincenzo plays, why you gave Ty Jerome the two-way. I get that, but I'm just thinking there's got to be someone else, man. Like someone's got to take because the reason it works in the starting lineup is because Draymond's a playmaker. Draymond's kind of like the point guard who can help set up Steph and help set up Poole, and those guys can cook on their own. They need to find that in the second unit because I don't know if I like the DiVincenzo or Ty Jerome, and I don't want Poole to be like this on-ball point guard. Maybe for a little bit, but not for the whole time of his second unit stint. They need like Kuminga needs to start passing. He's never going to be passed like Draymond, but isn't that the guy they're looking at to replace him? So they need someone else to do some of that stuff.
We'll talk about this in a minute, but Kuminga has one move. He has one move with the basketball. And if they cut it off, he has nothing to do, and he stops the dribble, and he looks to pass immediately.
He's gonna have an interesting season.
Yeah. So, JaMychal Green, 3 of 6 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3-point land, 7 rebounds. I thought he played really well.
Is he not the Otto Porter Jr. replacement? Like that's what I've been saying this whole time. He is a replica of what Otto Porter provided for us. He's just gonna replicate that.
I think I would say he's more, he's a little bit more of like, maybe not, it is, I'll let me step back. I'm going to agree with you with the caveat that I think he's going to be a little bit more doing the dirty stuff than Otto did, because Otto was able to go, because Otto's such a great shooter. He was able to stay outside and make teams pay. JaMychal Green's only going to shoot that 3 if they give it to him, and LeBron gave it to him twice.
I saw that, yeah,
and he hit it. But I don't think that's going to be his first option like it was with Otto's, because Otto's a gunner, man. Like he's a shooter. So very similar, but I think JaMychal Green wants to be a little bit closer to the basket. Yeah. He may get into more of like the rougher play, like a Draymond than Otto. Well, every time Otto mixed it up, I was like, oh, just don't get hurt, Yeah, and I don't see Green like that.
Yeah, I feel like the comparison is more of later season Otto Porter Jr. because we knew him on the team as a sharpshooter, and then we started knowing him in December as a guy who's going to get rebounds, a guy who's going to get offensive rebounds. And then I think it was in that Memphis game actually that we started picking up on that. And then he started missing from 3. He actually had a stint where he wasn't really hitting going into the playoffs. Like he wasn't even hitting the 3 that well, but he had built such a rapport and everyone knew him as a sharpshooter that he was kind of able to just like still stand out there and have a guy on him. Yeah. And then I feel like he started doing the dirty work in the playoffs. So I kind of feel like Otto Porter Jr. was like 3-pointer first, dirty work second, where JaMychal's like dirty work first, 3-pointer second. So
I'm gonna miss that guy.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of guys that, JTA went to a bad team, GP went to a bad team. Otto Porter Jr. might be on a good team this year.
They might be really good.
Yeah.
They're all like 6'7", 6'8" guys
It's
with
the
long
Raptors'
arms.
favorites, man.
All right. So last thing here for this game. Let's talk with the young guys. James Wiseman, who I had my eye on him more than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
16 minutes, 4 of 6 shooting. He missed all 4 of his free throws, and they were really bad.
Yeah, they were not good.
He had 7 boards, so he's active. 8 points. He is the big loser in the plus minus, though. He was minus 11. Jonathan Kuminga minus 8. DiVincenzo minus 5. They were the big ones. But overall, I would say I would give Wiseman a B minus. And the one thing that I look at from him is because he is so big and he's so strong, when he goes up with that basketball, and I think I mentioned this before, and he allows them to slap it away before he can finish, that frustrates me a little bit. And because when we're watching the best guy at doing that in LeBron. I was watching the play where I think he goes right at Wiseman, and he knows that Wiseman has got the length. So what he does is he knows Wiseman's coming from this side over here, and he's got to finish. So he holds it here, and then he gets super wide, and so Wiseman can't come all the way over the top, and then he can lay it in, and Wiseman's that
Mm-hmm.
close from finishing. Like Wiseman is kind of going up the same way, just like this, and they're just whacking his hands and slapping the ball out. He should just be a little bit more ferocious there. I think he's going. Hopefully, he will get better at that. But that's really the one flaw, because he's going to get a lot of dunks this year. I don't know how many he had tonight. I saw at least one. He had a nice layup finish as well, because he's a graceful athlete at the same time. And I think it's just the aggressiveness. It's the aggressiveness. It's the ferociousness on the finish. I mean, maybe some of it will be a Draymond lob that he catches and dunks, and Draymond hypes him up. But that's the thing that I wanted to see that I didn't see, was that ferociousness. But he did some nice things. He had a block shot on was it Gabriel?
Wenyan,
Like
yeah.
I mentioned that he reminded me of R-Truth from WWE. That's what he looked like. He swatted his shot away, but I think he should. We should expect him to do more of those things, because he is such a force and he is such a tall, wide guy. Ended up only with one block, but I want to see more of those things for him, because I think if he starts to get this reputation of being a shot blocker, of being able to finish, that Steve Kerr will be a little bit more comfortable playing him in certain spots, and I think that would be really good for him. But yeah, there's still a little bit of like trepidation. I don't think he's scared. I think he's sort of figuring things out.
Yeah, yeah.
But in
There's just
some
too much,
cases, you don't want him to think, right? You just want him to go. You just want him to
react.
do.
Yeah.
So
I think my few gripes with him all come on the defensive end, but like I think it's easy to like point fingers when we're sitting on the couch when it's like really hard to do. But like but my point is that I could say, Wiseman, you need to do this. Wiseman, you need to do that. Wiseman, you need to do this. Like a guy like Dante DiVincenzo, we could tell him, but he probably isn't physically capable of doing some of the things we're saying that he should. Wiseman has all the tools, has the feel for the game. He is capable of so much. But like my main problem with his game today was his IQ in transition on defense. There were a few possessions where, I think there was one where they started a fast break. And okay, before I start, like I said that the Lakers aren't a good test for the Warriors, and they aren't. But if you want to talk about a good test for like Wiseman, the Lakers have a loaded front court. So I feel like this was actually probably a good test for at least him.
I think I know the play you're going to talk about too.
I got a couple. But there was one, I think, where LeBron was driving and he got stopped at the free throw line, and Wiseman was a little late. But I think Kuminga or JaMychal Green was already on LeBron, and Wiseman just decides to also stay on LeBron, but not really double him, kind of just be there. And then Anthony Davis is just sprinting and just gets there. And like Wiseman just doesn't pick up that's that guy you got to guard in transition.
So I blame communication more on that because I saw the same thing you did. It was actually Wiggins. So what
Okay.
happened is Wiseman looks at Wiggins to stop ball on LeBron, and Wiggins doesn't. Wiggins actually comes back further to the 3-point line because I think what Wiggins saw was he saw Davis coming. So he's like, oh, LeBron's going to drop it there. And so we got to prepare for that. But Wiseman didn't see it. So then Wiseman sees that Wiggins is not stopping ball. So he goes to stop ball. And then Wiggins can't get around him or, quickly enough to get to where Davis was. So I think that's more of a communication thing. But some of that is, he's
Some of that's
like,
feel.
he's staring at LeBron rather than like looking at the big picture because he's just thinking, I got to stop ball because Wiggins not stopping ball.
Yeah. And there was also one where I think Davis set like Pat Bev a screen or something. There was something where Wiseman was on Davis and then Steph does his fake show because he's not going to stay on Davis or he's not going to stay on Luka in the playoffs. He does his fake show.
Yeah.
And Wiseman is just like, oh, I'm already in the paint guarding Pat Beverly. And Steph's like, oh, I got to turn around now and guard Anthony Davis. It's like there's IQ stuff in there that I feel like is just.
So I think that is also about communication and just about playing together. Wiseman, I think instinctually, he's like thinking like a big man, right? And in the Warriors system and the way that they play defense, you cannot think only like a big man because of how they
how
switch.
Much is communication or how much is maybe I don't want to let my 6'3" point guard guard a 7-footer. Like there's IQ in that. Sure, it's communication, but there's definitely like there's IQ in that. There's feel for the game. There's stuff that he'll gain as he continues to play. But like I'm not going to pin that all on communication.
That's the stuff that'll get pointed out when they watch film. I'm sure his big man coach will have a conversation with him. I think in some defenses, that's probably the correct play. When he was in college, for those handful of games, that was probably the correct play.
Yeah,
but in this system, you got to just watch Looney. It's almost like, what would Looney do? Oh, this is how I have to play that thing. So yeah, there's definitely things that he can learn. But I will say that B- is a hard grade because I think we need to grade him a little harder. He needs to show out this year, and I'm looking forward to that happening because like I said, he's the X factor. I think I said this either a couple weeks ago when we last recorded. He's the X factor because if he is actual beneficial to this team, like he does things that they have never had in this current run, and it would be like, oh, another tool. Like we actually have another tool to use, and just sky's the limit, offensively and defensively.
And I think we're gonna be harder. At least I will be harder on him, because and he doesn't give a crap if I'm hard on him.
No,
but I think it's that he out of the young guys except for Poole, he is the only one with a guaranteed rotation spot. Like you can't really take him out of the rotation. You need a backup 5, and respectfully, he's the least deserving of a consistent rotation spot out of Kuminga and Moody. They paid their dues last year. That's just my opinion on it.
He's also playing to get his contract picked up, right? The Warriors have the option.
He would be
on his 4th year
eligible next year,
and he's already making 12. So I don't know what the option is. At least 12, probably a little bit more. So he's got to show that he's worth that in this system, and I think it's just going to be a good growth year. But I want to see him. I want to see that thing click, and then boom, he's off to the races. That's what I'm rooting for.
Can you decline an option and still be a restricted free agent?
That'd if you're saying if the Warriors declined his,
if they don't pick up his option,
yeah,
does he go to free agency restricted or unrestricted? Because he's going to free agency a year before.
That's a good question. I don't know. We should probably look that up.
Because the whole thing that with the Wiseman is like he's missed X amount of games. They might be able to get some kind of discount on him. So I was just wondering,
you know who would,
what the best way to do that?
Who would know?
Who?
Anthony Slater.
Yeah, he would.
Okay, Jordan Poole. There was some stuff that he was doing in the first quarter where I was like, His baby Steph right in front of our eyes. And then he struggled, I thought, for most of the rest of the game.
Mhm.
He ended up shooting wise 4 of 15, 2 of 9 from three, 12 points, and even we've talked about 7 assists. So he and Steph tied for lead. But the one thing that is maybe uh because of who he was in the rotation with, his plus minus probably is not even a valuable stat because he was running with so many of the young players, but only a +1. And it's kind of what you had talked about with what his role is. He definitely thought, or he definitely felt like he was the best scoring option on the floor. So I think he forced a lot of stuff.
He
And that's
is.
some that he is for sure. But he's also gonna get the most gravity, right? If he
Mhm.
watches how Steph plays, people are gonna gravitate towards him because he's got the ball and they know that he can put the ball in the bucket. So in that, I think he's got to be able to make plays for some other
Mhm.
guys. But I thought he forced a lot of stuff. He missed some pretty wide open shots. I was just happy to see him. I was a little worried about kind of there's two ways that I thought it could have gone. The first way was he's a little trepidatious, he's unsure of himself, and then we watched him in the preseason, that one game where like, nah, he still looks
Yep.
like Jordan Poole. The other thing that I thought was maybe that he would be trying to prove something, right? Oh, I got to prove, what that this doesn't affect me. I got to overprove it to everybody. So I'm just going to go, score 35 tonight. And so
Mhm.
I don't know what it was. It was probably maybe more of that, but probably also what we said about his rotation and what he saw as his role. But I'm not going to be worried about that because
He's not worried about it either.
he's not worried about it. And a few of those shots I thought were going to drop, and they just didn't drop. So
Mhm.
ultimately, I'm not worried about Jordan Poole. Let's talk about Jonathan Kuminga. I know Kerr is fired up about Kuminga, his defensive rotations, and there's the play in the corner where he intercepted the pass where they were gonna there was a guy going to the corner, they're gonna shoot a three, and Kuminga intercepts the pass after barely crossing half court, takes like 2 strides, and he's in the corner. Offensively, it was rough. It was hard to watch because they made a point to say he's only 20. I get it. We're being harder on these guys than anyone else is just because we watch them every day. But he did not look comfortable in the rotation with the rest of those guys.
Yeah, and I think it's a little due to how much the Lakers were packing the paint defensively. It kind of felt like they were watching it. Like there was always someone in there. So even his go-to move trying to drive, like there was always people there. So maybe he was a little hesitant to do it. Whereas against the Nuggets, he could play the dunker spot and just
That
do
spin
that
move,
role.
man. Nobody's
Yeah.
falling for that spin move.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a player I feel like we're both gonna keep an eye on and see 12.1 for
So
Wiseman.
Randy says
Oh.
12.1 for Wiseman for his option. And then there's a fifth year option for 15.8. So I mean the Warriors are gonna pick it up.
Yeah.
But he's
Are they
got
gonna
to.
extend on the 4th year? I feel like that's the question on how I guess the amount maybe because they could extend for not that much.
Yeah,
Still
yeah.
an extension.
All right. Why do we think our guy? I mean, we'll call him your guy because you were so high on him even last year. Moses Moody, man, he didn't get any run.
He did everything right again too. Like I don't see what the issue was there. Did he do anything wrong that you saw that was like where it was grounds for him not touching the floor again? He missed it. He missed some open shots, I guess, but like I mean, he's supposed to take those.
I mean,
Oh,
I guess you're really talking about positionally, right? So he wasn't he so if you had Jordan Poole, DiVincenzo, Kuminga, Wiseman, and Green. I think if maybe in certain scenarios, Green is not with that unit, and you slide Kuminga to the 4, but it seems like Steve really likes him at the 3, and he likes him and Wiseman together. I don't know. I don't know who he bumps out. They want to get DiVincenzo the run, so it's probably Green or Kuminga who gets pushed out of that spot in the rotation for Moody. But I assumed he was going to be the second guy off the bench after Wiseman, and man, he was the 11th guy in this game. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I think it's going to come down to Kuminga or Moody. I'd be interested to see though if it is positionally, like Moody's tall and he has a long wingspan, but I don't know how like big of a guy he is. Like if he can guard threes. So yeah, if it's a choice between the 3, DiVincenzo, Poole, and Moody for the second unit, then obviously Moody for now seems like the odd man out because you need DiVincenzo to play make, but Moody does all the right things, man.
He hit the 3 right away when he came in too.
Right away, and he'll play hard defense. He'll go do the little things, go do the dirty. He'll be a dirty work guy if you need him. Like he just does all the right things. I feel like he's a guy you're gonna want in the rotation.
Did you hear him scream when he dunked?
No, but I did see the dunk. That was cool.
Yeah, he screamed. He let out a little wail. I don't know who that was for. I guess nothing really to say about Rollins. He just played the 2 minutes, got up a shot. And Patrick Baldwin did not play coach's decision. So Iguodala, Ty Jerome, Anthony Lamb, all inactive. For the Lakers, Troy Brown, Dennis Schroeder, Thomas Bryant inactive. Last thing before we talk about a little bit of the prediction stuff. I will say, when the Warriors were playing the Cavs and they were constantly going to the championships and stuff, I did not necessarily enjoy watching LeBron as much because he obviously he's such a great player, but he was like an angry basketball player when during those years. And when I remember him, because I've been following him for his entire career, 2003, and he's kind of like the young guy who's trying to get this team over the hump, and then he goes over to the Heat. He becomes like this kind of like this villain, but he's not really a villain. But by the time he's playing the Warriors in the finals, he's just so angry and like trying to will this team over the hump that it was not fun watching him, because I'm just like, this dude just wants to like, get every call. He wants to fight Draymond. Like there's like a little bit of less joy from the LeBron that I remember. Now, as the upper 30s guy, I think he kind of knows that his team is not great.
It's acceptance,
but he's fun to watch play again. There are certain scenarios where the 5 years ago LeBron, I thought, would have done stuff that the 38-year-old LeBron did not do tonight, but that's normal. That's aging. That's just being older. But he is fun for me to watch again. And some of that has to do with the fact that I guess, I didn't think that they were going to win, or that they had a good enough team to beat us. That's probably some of it, but I enjoyed watching him play this basketball game tonight.
Yeah, and he was really good too. I thought, but yeah, I mean, to your point, it's probably like he was in denial. He was playing angry, like, oh, this Steph guy, this is supposed to be my era. I'm supposed to win all these championships, and here comes this little 6'3" guard out of Davidson.
Yeah,
and now he's just accepted that his team's not going to win. Steph might win some more. So,
any quick thoughts on Davis? Davis played the most minutes on in the game. He played over 35 minutes. LeBron was second at a little bit lower by a few seconds, but no one on the Warriors played over 32 minutes. Steph played 32-48. Wiggins played 29-28. Those are the only guys that high. But yeah, LeBron and Davis are going to have to play a lot of minutes to win basketball games this year, I think.
Yeah, Obi texted our chat after the first quarter and was like, if Anthony Davis is healthy, he's a top 10 player in this league. And we just kind of let that one sizzle for a little bit. And then we get to the fourth quarter and I was like, hey, you still, how's that take? You still liking it? And then he took it back. But Anthony Davis really did have a good first quarter where he was looking really two-way, kind of, glimpses of what he was pre-injury. So that was exciting to see. I mean,
his jumper's like gone. Like, where'd it go?
I don't know.
He was 0 for 3 from 3-point land. He like from just like, I mean, he's still really good around the bucket, and he can still finish. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that he was able to do, when he was on the in New Orleans, that because the Warriors had to play New Orleans in playoffs at least twice, so we've seen a lot of him too, as much as we've seen LeBron. But yeah, Lakers are going to be tough. But there's this talk about the Westbrook contract and trading the 2 picks and who you can get back. I don't know. You put Miles Turner and Buddy Hield on this team. I don't think it's that
makes
much
him better. It
I
makes
don't
him
think it's
better.
that
I
much
mean,
better.
I think we were talking about it on our podcast, and I think everyone has the Kings over the Lakers. And I was like, but if you get Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, that at least puts them over the Kings. But yeah, they probably stay in the same spot because there's questions with Turner if he could stay on, if he can guard the perimeter that well. He's a really good shot blocker and 3-point shooter, but can he guard the perimeter? Buddy Hield, we know he can't really defend. So yeah, it makes them better in the regular season, but it's not really much more than that.
Turner and Davis can play together. I can't.
They both can shoot. Yeah, we'll see if Davis can shoot, but Miles Turner can actually stretch and he can hit threes. Not like volume wise, but if he's open.
All right, so let's talk about some of the other things that we're going to talk about before we get out of here, which is you had some Warriors predictions that you wanted to throw out, some hot takes on how they were going to do this season. Did you want to throw those out?
Oh man, I just said we should do it, and I didn't really come up with any, but I'm sure I have some.
Well, okay, so you are predicting that they go back to back.
Yes,
that's a take. That's a hot take. I did the same, but I'm never going to pick against them. So it's more, I don't want to pick against my team than anything else. But yeah, I mean, they have pieces, so they're going to be in it. They may not win 60 games like, maybe Milwaukee could or Denver could, because they're just going to rest guys. They're going to rest a lot of their guys. But that's a hot take. Do you think Steph can get back into the MVP race? Because he was a contender in the first half of the season, and then in the second half he was not. And I don't think anyone is taking him seriously this year.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't have him in my top 3 for MVP. And there is some like media, like voter fatigue that goes in that, but I feel like they'd be more than happy to give it to Steph for his 3rd time after so long. I think he could. I think he can get a top 5 and get a first team All NBA. I think that's possible. I just don't think he'll play enough games because they'll probably rest him. Maybe, God forbid something happened, but I just think that the Warriors will probably rest a lot of their veterans and, no, I think he'll be in that form, but like not games eligible. Like I think he can play to that level, just like maybe not in consideration for the awards.
Well, he's gonna, if let's say he plays 65 games.
There's no MVP. No, he wouldn't. I don't
Jokic is gonna play
70
high 70s.
Yeah.
Giannis is gonna play mid 70s to high 70s. As long as Luka doesn't get hurt, he will be high on that list as well. So yeah, he probably does not have a chance because he's a 65 game player, I think.
And better for us that he plays that many games.
Yeah. Do you think there is any do you think Draymond has a shot at defensive player of the year stuff?
I think there's a window. No Rob Williams, no Jaren Jackson Jr. for a while. Like if there's a year where he can try and get it again, it would be this year. Kawhi's going to be a little slow to start. I think his real competition is Gobert and Bam. So I definitely think he could do it. That Marcus Smart is going to go down as like the most fraudulent defensive player of the year of all time. I swear. The thing was, I hated it when it happened. I still hate it. But yeah, Draymond definitely has a chance.
He was trying to create some friction in today's game. I was like, come on, dude. We're on to you.
Yeah.
We're on to you, my guy. I don't know. He was too happy Draymond for me tonight. I need to see angry Draymond. But again, I don't think he felt threatened, and his best friend LeBron was on the other side. So
someone caught it on like TNT, like the overtime cam, I guess, that like I think while the Lakers maybe were shooting free throws, LeBron sat back, or they were in like a transition and LeBron kind of sat back. Maybe a foul happened on the Warriors side of the court. And his team was on the other side of the court. Everyone was on the other side of the court. And they caught that camera for some reason caught Draymond like in his like jumpsuit, like practice or warm up gear, like running over to him and starting like laughing, cracking jokes on the court, like mid game.
They should redo the Magic and Isaiah 1988 Finals Game 1, where they did the little kiss each other on the cheek move. I think Draymond and LeBron should repeat that one just to show everyone how their friendship is stronger than ever. They have such a
I know
friendship.
they feel such a need to like, or maybe it's Draymond's side to be like, I'm like LeBron's like one of my best friends. It's like we get it, man, we get it.
Hey, if it works, right there, if it's a little bit of iron sharpens iron, maybe, because Draymond has always played LeBron tough, right, all the way back to those finals. So I just I find the whole thing funny because
Of their past.
well, they're past, but also, LeBron is like a recruiter. He's like
yeah.
because of clutch and everything. He's
We'll see
remember when Ben Simmons was young king? Whatever happened to young king, man?
We'll see. Do you think LeBron will throw him to the curb once Draymond signs like another long-term contract somewhere else?
I don't know. All right, so let's talk about we did some predictions. Your podcast had some graphics, and you had told folks to give their predictions for the NBA season, and you had a little template, and then you created a graphic for them. So I'll quickly
Mason. Shout out Mason.
Yeah, your podcast, meaning your graphics department, meaning Mason Mazza. So let's read. I'll read off mine really quickly, and then we'll read off yours. So defensive player of the year, I went Giannis. Rookie of the year went Keegan Murray from the Kings. Most improved player is like the worst thing to try and predict.
Yeah.
I thought RJ Barrett, but then I was like, Wendell Carter Jr.
Yeah, what made you go with Wendell? That was an interesting one.
If Orlando is good, I mean, it's just based on if Orlando is a good team. I just feel it goes like when they made the trade, when Chicago made the trade, and for the center from the Magic, what's his name?
Vucevic.
Yeah, for Vucevic. I was adamant that this was the wrong move because I was like, they're gonna play Vucevic off the court. Like you don't need someone just to play in the post. Like Wendell Carter is kind of the type of player that you need. Maybe he's not going to be your starting five, but he's the kind of player that you need. And so I've always been a fan of his. Mm-hmm. And I just think that I forget what his numbers were last year, but they were surprisingly good.
That's why people, I talked to, sorry to cut you off, but I talked to Kobe Price of the Orlando Sentinel. He covers the Orlando Magic, and he doesn't think Wendell could get it because his numbers were
too good last year.
Because he grades it on literally a year-to-year statistical jump. Yeah. Obviously, eye test, but that's why he didn't do Jordan Poole, because Ja went from what? 19
20,
18 points per game to 27 or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
So that's why that was Sam Amick's reason for doing it too. So, people have different ways of voting it, but he doesn't think Wendell can really like go astronomically better than that stat line.
Did you see Slater went Patrick Williams for his?
That's the pick I like. Like that's what it should be. Like it should be guys who, because Slater said it perfectly, they value the points per game jump. It's like if Patrick Williams could become like a really valuable player on the Chicago team, and they end up as like a 5th or 6th seed, like it's probably a lot of his doing with Lonzo out and all that. Like a Jaden McDaniels to me would be, I feel like, an awesome pick. I feel like he's pretty like a key to how this Minnesota Timberwolves team.
Nobody was drafting him in fantasy. Jaden McDaniels.
I wanted to. Alex took him the round I was going to take him. That's my guy.
All right, so 6th man of the year, I went with Jordan Poole. MVP, I went with Luka. There's 5 or 6 guys that I think are really good choices for MVP. I think Luka's team is not going to be as good as it was last year, so maybe his numbers have to go up a little bit, but they're going to be a playoff team. Tim Hardaway Jr. is back, so maybe that helps out a little bit. Best record, I went Bucks. I sort of feel like Giannis. This is Giannis's year for like, you guys forgot about me because I didn't make the finals. And I think he really loved being in the finals. Like he likes being known as like the best player in the NBA. Yeah. So I think he's got a little bit of like, okay, we're going back, and I'm getting back there, and we're gonna have a really good season. Some of that is Middleton. He's still not even ready to play, right? How long is he going to be out?
I actually don't know his timetable.
So worst record, there's a multitude of teams here. You could have gone Jazz, Spurs. I just went Hornets. There's nothing outside of LaMelo. I guess
They
Book
have
Night.
pieces, but I feel like they're gonna flip him. Book Night just got his like 4th DUI of the year. I wouldn't totally count on
what's
him.
going on? See,
I
like
have
stuff
no
like that.
clue.
What's going on with stuff like
Yeah,
that?
Miles Bridges, we kind of know the
And then,
story there.
I mean, this dude's done, right? Like he's
well,
got
I
to be
mean, he
done.
keeps getting his court hearing delayed or pushed out or something like. So I keep seeing like a tweet once every like 4 weeks, and it's pushed out again. So we'll see with him.
And then I had Warriors Bucks in the finals, and Warriors winning the title.
Nice.
So for your picks,
Ooh,
you had Rudy Gobert winning Defensive Player of the Year.
yeah. Do I get to list mine?
Next to Karl Anthony Towns. Yeah, go for it.
So a lot of my reasoning, I'll start with, because some of my reasoning like counteracts each other. I said MVP Joel Embiid because I think there's voter fatigue, and voter fatigue is real. I don't think they'll give it to Jokic 3 years in a row, even if he's the first seed, even if he, has the same stat line. I think he's got to do something like astronomically better, which I don't know if he can based on how he's been playing, because it's so good. Like, I don't know how much better you can get. And that counteracts my Rudy Gobert Defensive Player of the Year, because that would be his third, right? Or his third or fourth or something like that. But I think, I think people don't believe in it working for the Timberwolves, and I think if it works, he could win it again. And but yeah, back to my MVP pick. I think there's 3 possible MVP candidates. There's going to be more. It's going to be someone that jumps in the picture that's unexpected. But I went into it thinking Joel Embiid, and I have the Sixers as the best record in the East. So I think that if that's the case, I think Joel can finally get it this year. I had Luka, and you picked Luka, but I think I had Luka as the 7th seed, and I could easily see him being the 8th seed. I think he's got average like 35 points or 32 to 35 points per game to like keep this team afloat. Because you really look at that roster, there's not much outside of him. Like Dinwiddie's okay. Christian Woods, we don't know what Christian Wood looks like on a winning basketball team. Like there's a lot of this
not
team,
a Maxi Kleber guy.
Not really. A lot of this team,
especially not in the playoffs.
yeah. Powell sucked in the playoffs too. I mean, they get Tim Hardaway Jr. back, but I think this team kind of fits Luka's strengths and kind of actually hides a little bit of his weaknesses, because everyone can kind of defend on that team, so maybe he doesn't have to. But I think we're going to hear a narrative on how like, oh, Luka needs help, but like, it's kind of a LeBron thing where you want to put shooters around Luka, and that's what they're doing. But maybe it's just, I think he just needs like a second star. But I could see. If like I think he's got to get a 6 seed at least. That's what Jokic was last year, right? A 6 seed and he got the MVP. Has a 7 seed ever won the MVP? What was Russ when he got it? Was that a 6 seed too?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think it was a 6 seed, because I remember we were trying to see if Steph could get it, but he was an 8th seed, and that was kind of one of the main ruling, along with Jokic being amazing. So I don't know. I just think if Luka is a 7 or 8 seed, he's not going to get it. And my other one was Jason Tatum. Because I think that, he could potentially take a jump in his game, and the Celtics will be really good in the regular season. So, he might get a nod. And today he looked really good. A lot of the weaknesses I felt like he had during the finals, he was kind of showing today, like making a statement. Like one of my main qualms with his game in the finals is that whenever he'd get contact, he'd flail and he wouldn't be able to finish through contact. And today, like, he was finishing through contact like crazy. So I feel like he's a good pick. Max picked him. You picked Luka. I picked Embiid. I think those are all solid picks. I'm interested to see on who outside of that top 3 will start coming into the fold.
I think Tatum is a really good pick. The thing about that team though is, can you be the MVP as the best player and the most talented player when I still feel like Jaylen Brown is and Marcus Smart are like the heart and soul? Like there's like something there where I don't know. I like Tatum a lot, but I also think like Jaylen Brown, I'd almost rather have Jaylen Brown on the Warriors. I don't know. That might just be
maybe
like
on the Warriors.
Taste. That might be just a personal taste, but there's like a dog in Jaylen Brown that I don't see in Tatum. Yeah, I mean Tatum, especially if Boston is as good as they might be, because man, they looked really good today. Yeah, Malcolm Brogdon, but Brogdon will probably get hurt at some point, so they'll have to. I mean, that's what they got the depth, right? They got Derek White, they got Brogdon. Who was the Noah Vonleh? I was like, who is this guy? Just wanting to
He was in
fight
Wiggins and Embiid's draft with
Yeah.
Julius Randle. Like that was
He's
a callback.
He's just like getting underneath Embiid and wanting to fight him. I was like, who's this guy? Oh, that's
Yeah.
Noah Vonleh.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like maybe since I picked the Sixers as the 1 seed and they got outclassed a little bit, the score was a little closer than I felt like it kind of ran away with at the end of the game. Celtics were kind of up by 15, maybe 20. But yeah, I have a lot to say about that team. Maybe when I do my podcast this week. Going back to my list, though, Rookie of the Year, Paolo Banchero. I think it's between two with the dark horse. Paolo and Keegan, I feel like, are the top two. But a lot of people are picking Ben Mathurin, which makes me happy as a U of A fan.
I guess he had a really good preseason. I didn't see any of their games.
Really good summer league, too. Yeah, no, I'm keeping an eye on him for sure. But I feel like with Rookie of the Year in years past, they've given it to a guy who either gets the keys to a team and is able to bring them to a play-in, point at LaMelo, or it's a guy who's given a key to a team and is a very contributing piece to a winning team. I just feel like with Rookie of the Year, they tend to give it to guys who are just given everything to do, or are a guy who's given things to do on a winning team. With Scotty Barnes, I think that the Pacers are going to have one of the worst records of the season. So I just don't know, just basing it off of how the past Rookie of the Years have gone. I don't know if I can see Ben Mathurin getting it based on how I have them in the prediction. So I went Paolo. Mm-hmm. I think I think they drafted him to be the guy. I think they drafted him to be the number one guy, and he's going to have pressure. But I mean, Franz is going to take pressure off of him. Franz is not a nationally known name as he should be. I think this guy's a future all-star. But you talked about Wendell. I'm a believer in Jalen Suggs still. Cole Anthony is a decent player. We'll see what Markelle Fultz does. Jonathan Isaac coming back.
They're gonna be fun to watch.
This is gonna be a fun team. We should go see them when they come to the Chase.
Yeah, I'm in.
So
I like watching the young teams.
Yeah, me too. Paolo, I'll try to make this quick. Paolo, Rookie of the Year. MIP, Anthony Edwards. I don't like the pick. It's just based on how they've done it in the past, where Ja won it last year. Brandon Ingram's won it a year. Just guys who I feel like are expected to make the jump. That's who usually wins it. And this is the year for Anthony Edwards to like solidify his spot in the league. And, we had him top 20 in our top 25 rankings. So I think he's probably the pick. I think there's Maxey in there as well. There's Halliburton in there as well. De'Aaron Fox could be a sleeper. I kind of wanted to pick Fox, but I'm going with Edwards. Jordan Poole, I said it on my podcast, it's his award to lose. I think the only way he loses it is if Clay gets hurt and he starts for more games than he comes off the bench. Max picked Malcolm Brogdon. I think is a good pick as well. My sleeper would be Trey Murphy III. I talked to Will Guillory of The Athletic for the Pelicans, and we were kind of just like pretty high on him in general, and he's going to be coming off the bench, and I don't think there's a way he starts unless someone gets hurt, when I think he would be a starter on a lot of teams.
All these name drops. Wow.
Lots of name drops. Yeah. Best record, Denver. My best record isn't really who I think is the best team necessarily. It's more of who I think is going to try the hardest in the regular season. And Denver, with, a cruddy team last year, Jokic was able to pull them to a 6 seed, and you add Jamal Murray, you add Michael Porter Jr., you add Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, you add Bruce Brown. I think this team, I mean, before Jamal got hurt, like there was a point in that season where it was the second half of the season, before Jamal got hurt against the Warriors, like they were really good. They were putting up some like insane numbers. So I think they can be a 1 seed. I'm not too high. I've talked about the Warriors. Like I feel like they kind of need Wiseman insurance just in case something happens. The Nuggets need insurance badly. Like I almost would rather have Boogie than DeAndre Jordan. I think DeAndre Jordan might be like the worst backup center in the league. And so maybe they're going to be looking for someone. I don't know if they kept a roster spot open or not, but Derek Favors got waived. Maybe they look at that. But yeah, DeAndre Jordan, I think, sucks. And that's who's going to be like on the court when Jokic comes out, which is so silly. Worst record, Utah Jazz. They sold all the important pieces, and I still think they have more to do come trade deadline. So I think there's going to be a team where I think their lineup's going to end up being like Colin Sexton, who might win you some meaningless games. Who else might still be on the team? THT, Vanderbilt, Larry Markkinen, and Walker Kessler. If you know like two of those guys on that team, I'd be surprised. So not a lot of names on there, and I think they're just going to end up tanking for Wembanyama after the first 20 games of the season. Finals matchup, Warriors versus Bucks. I think that's a lot of people's finals matchup. Some people, have Clippers Bucks, but this kind of seems like the main one is Warriors versus Bucks, and I have the Warriors winning it.
Anthony Edwards was too mean to Bo Cruz in Hustle. I don't want him to win that award.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was fun. It was fun to watch them win. They're gonna have a bigger test on Friday, so we'll have to figure out when the next time we record. We may just go back to Thursdays. This was kind of like a one-off thing, but who knows? Maybe there's other big games that we want to talk about, and we will kind of do the interweek podcast like we did today. So we're not going to be back on Thursday, which is our normal day, because we recorded today. But we'll figure out probably, also during the week, we don't really want to record when the Warriors play, so we may have to like kind of futz around with the schedule. But yeah, so that is it. Warriors are 1-0 in this new 22-23 season, and the NBA is back. And we both got League Pass, so I'm probably going to watch way more basketball this year than I have in a long time. I'm already watching all the finals from 2000, starting from 2000. I'm watching all the finals.
Oof. I want to say it's Pistons versus Magic tomorrow. It's going to be a must watch for me.
Young Randall. He has Nets Warriors in
he
the
does,
finals.
yeah, he
And
does. I made his template.
Stephen A. I saw Stephen A. did make that take as well.
Yep.
So Randy believes in Ben Simmons, man. LeBron may not believe in Ben Simmons anymore, but to Randy, Ben Simmons is still his young king.
Trade for Ben Simmons. Throw me some offers on fantasy, Randy. I got him in the 4th round.
All right, so that'll be it. That is, we'll see you all next week. So for Brian, I am Double G. We'll see you when we see you. Thanks for watching, Randy, and those others, Mark Nobita, who will also join us, and for listening to everybody. Thanks for listening. Peace out.